Attorney General Jeff Sessions continued his charges against so-called sanctuary cities this week. In response, on Monday, Aurora City Council decided to formally declare Aurora a welcoming city versus a sanctuary city. Meanwhile, the Colorado Freedom Defense Act passed in the State House on Thursday and would exclude Colorado from participating in federal efforts to develop ethnic or religion-based registries or internment camps. David, let's look at the sanctuary cities versus welcoming cities situation first. Is this a game of semantics?
Well, obviously, yes, but whatever the policies are what they are. Some of the things Attorney General Sessions doesn't like, I think, is cities being prudent in terms of you're letting somebody out of jail because they're making bail, and ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, wants to put a detainer on them to hold them for a period, for possible deportation or whatever. Well, the courts have said that may be unconstitutional. It's a violation of somebody's Fourth Amendment rights when they're being held and there's no, they've made bail on one thing, and there's no warrant authorizing them to be held by the federal government. So I think he's wrong to criticize cities that are more respectful of constitutional rights. There are other things many ways in which cities can be non-cooperative in law enforcement. Under the Supreme Court precedents, it's usually okay to have conditional grants as long as the conditions are clearly stated. And the things that Sessions is talking about cutting are federal grants to law enforcement where cooperation with federal immigration law is expressly a condition in the grant. And these grants they're not that big as a matter of the city's total budget or even law enforcement budgets. So I think those are likely going to be upheld by the courts. And in terms of no ethnic registries and internment camps, first of all, this doesn't address the existing internment camp under DIA, but at least and I think it's extremely paranoid for people to talk themselves into this hysteria that there's going to be a Muslim registry or internment camps. However, it's still a good thing, and even if Donald Trump is actually not secretly planning concentration camps everywhere, it's a good principle to put in Colorado law. Who knows how it might be helpful 50 or 100 years from now to have that protection expressly stated.
Pan, let's start on that last one that David mentioned. When you see a bill like this saying we will be not on registries about religion and internment camps, A, in a split legislature, does this even get to Governor Hickenlooper? And B, is this simply grandstanding?
Yes.
Okay.
Now can I make my other point?
Absolutely.
Assuming Jeff Sessions isn't doing this just to divert attention from his involvement in the Russian conspiracy, it's pretty clear settled law. He can't necessarily claw back money with conditions that were established after the fact. And part of this hysteria needs to be brought in check. David raised a good point about how ICE works, but the other thing that people need to recognize is Aurora and Denver and other cities, if they get notification from ICE that they want to detain someone, what these cities have basically said is, sure, we'll hold them. You get 4 hours. When you told us you wanted to hold them, you should have made plans in terms of what you wanted to do with them. Denver, Aurora, and other city taxpayers should not foot the bill for what ICE wants to do with people they want to detain. And a number of these cities who are being branded sanctuary cities are simply saying, we'll hold people. And when the courts tell us we have to release them, if you give us notification, you come get them, so it's on your dime and your time and not ours. And that's fair. That's a fair statement to make to the feds. The other thing to keep in mind is Aurora said something very interesting last week. When you look at their entire book of people who are charged, 0.2% of the people who are charged with a crime in Aurora are undocumented aliens. 0.2%. So this is not a massive problem. It's kind of a mountain out of a molehill, but again, it's part of the political dynamic that this administration is using to work people up.
Nick, clearly immigration and national issues are on the minds of Colorado lawmakers. What do you expect from this bill that we've seen about registries and internment camps?
Yeah, I think the bill's dead when it gets to the Senate, which is any day now. I do think that, Governor Hickenlooper has made a point, just in a briefing yesterday with reporters of coming out against, Sessions and, pointing out that all law enforcement in Colorado is complying. There's no systematic abuse here of not cooperating. And I mean, I just think that this is a lot of political posturing. In fact, I was thinking about who was actually providing sanctuary for undocumented immigrants, and it's churches. I mean, and we'll see how that works out, but it's not the state.
Patty, sanctuary city, welcoming city, tomato, tomato?
We're a very welcoming TV show here too. It's all in how the feds want to interpret it. And basically they're saying if you don't hold the person as long as we want you to because we haven't bothered to look at our fax machine, which is usually where the notification comes, or we can't find a truck or a van to pick up the person, you're stuck with it. Well, that means the taxpayers are stuck with the fee for jailing them, but also maybe with the lawsuit that comes up because you have held that person beyond when the courts say you constitutionally can. Great interview yesterday with the the Weld County Sheriff on Colorado Public Radio saying, look, we are doing everything we can constitutionally. It's not fair to brand us this way. And Weld County is not exactly what you would say, very welcoming place, but not a sanctuary county. As for the legislation, I hope it goes through. It would have been nice to have had that bill on the books back when Camp Amachi was set up as an internment camp for the Japanese Americans.
Mm-hmm.